My parents and brother refused to take my 15-year-old daughter to the ER after she broke her leg. We don't have time, they said. Then they made her walk for 3 hours. I didn't shout. I did this. 4 days later they were screaming in panic. It was a Tuesday. Just a regular, brain-numbing, paperwork-drenched Tuesday. I was at my desk, going blind from forms, chewing a pen that had long since given up writing. My office smelled like lukewarm coffee and recycled air. The kind of smell that settles into your clothes and your soul. Then Sophie's name popped up on my phone. FaceTime. I smiled without thinking. Probably a vacation update. Maybe she'd show me a new bracelet she bartered for, or some local snack with a name I couldn't pronounce. The trip had been her idea. Tag along with my parents, my brother Mark, and her cousins for a little sightseeing out of state. It lined up with her spring break. I couldn't go. My husband couldn't either. We both had work. And while I don't fly. At all. Haven't for a decade. Not a vibe thing. A full-blown phobia. Sweaty palms, racing heart, borderline panic attack at the gate. Even the smell of jet fuel makes my throat close. We drive. We train. We stay grounded. That's how I function. Anyway, the point is, I wasn't expecting trauma. I was expecting a market selfie. So I picked up. No grin. No noise. Just Sophie sitting stiffly on a hotel bed. Ice tired. Her voice thin. Hey Mom, she said. Can I tell you something without you freaking out? Spoiler, I freaked out. Not visibly. Not loudly. But internally. Panic. Full system override. What's wrong? I asked, already standing up. She flipped the camera. Her leg was propped on a hotel pillow. Swollen, red-purple, the skin stretched tight around her ankle and shin. Not bruised. Inflated. Unnatural. I think I broke it, she said. For a second my brain just stalled. What do you mean you think you broke it? I fell yesterday. On the stairs. At that old palace thing. Yesterday. Yeah. I sat down slowly like gravity was heavier all of a sudden. Okay, who's seen it? Grandma. Grandpa. Uncle Mark. And they said it wasn't that bad. It wasn't really swollen at first. They thought it was just bruised. I blinked. So they didn't take you anywhere? No. We kept going. I walked it off. My eyes closed. How long did you walk? 3 hours. Maybe a little more. 3 hours. On that. She nodded. They said I was being dramatic. There was the family motto. They told me I'd feel better once we finished the tour, she added so casually it made my stomach turn. And now. It hurts worse. A lot worse. Where are they now? She hesitated. Out. They said I could rest at the hotel. My hands went still. You're alone. She nodded again. In another state? Pause. Yeah. I stared at her. Hey, don't move. I'm coming to you. You don't have to. I do. But you'd have to fly. I'm aware. She blinked. You haven't flown since. I know. She opened her mouth. Closed it. I'm already looking up flights, I said. This time she didn't argue. Her voice went small. Okay. I hung up, opened my laptop and searched. 1 flight. 1 seat. Leaves in 90 minutes. No time for fear. No time for logic. No time for anything. I booked it. Then I called my parents. Voicemail. Tried again. Still voicemail. Called Mark. He answered chipper. Hey. How's it going? You left Sophie alone in a hotel with a possibly broken leg. He paused. She said she was fine. She can't walk. She's always been a little sensitive. Sensitive. Come on. It's probably just a sprain. The swelling didn't even start until last night. You made her walk for 3 hours. We didn't make her. She's 15, Mark. She told you it hurt. And you left her. Alone. She said she wanted to rest. Because she couldn't move. He sighed. You're blowing this out of proportion. There was again. Trauma. Always me. Always her. I hung up without another word. Then I grabbed my bag, shut my laptop and bolted down the hall. My boss looked up as I burst into his office. Family emergency, I said. I have to go. What kind of emergency? The kind where I leave right now. He frowned. You were just assigned. I know. I'm sorry. He started to argue. I didn't wait to hear it. I walked out. In the elevator I booked a cab. In the cab I texted Sophie, I'm coming. Don't take anything. Stay in bed. She replied with a single heart emoji. I stared at that tiny red heart the whole ride to the airport. And then I ran. Through check-in. Through security. Sweaty, disoriented, fighting the irrational itch to turn back. But I didn't. I ran like someone being chased. Maybe I was. By the ghost of every time I'd been told I was too sensitive. Too much. Too scared. I made it to the gate with minutes to spare. No checked bags. No clean shirt. Just me, my fear, and the fact that I wasn't going to let my daughter be dismissed 1 second longer. I hate flying. I really, really hate it. But I hate what they did to her more. So I boarded the plane. And I didn't shout. Not yet. But 4 days later they were the ones screaming. The woman next to me was asleep with her forehead against the window and a bag of pretzels resting on her chest. I envied her. I hadn't unclenched my jaw since takeoff. My palms were damp. My knees locked. Every small bump made my stomach flip, but I didn't breathe a word. I stared straight ahead like I was being tested. As I was. Not by the turbulence. Not by the plane. By me. By every voice in my head telling me this was an overreaction. That I was being dramatic. That voice sounds a lot like my mother's. I hadn't flown in over 10 years. Not because I didn't want to. But as I couldn't. The moment my foot touches an airport floor, my chest tightens. My brain loops through every awful flight I ever had like a highlight reel of shame. Especially that one when I was 10, sobbing from turbulence, gripping the tray table like it could save me. Mark filmed it on his dad's camcorder. Years later he added sound effects. Played it at Thanksgiving. Everyone laughed. I was still a child. I remember my mother's voice. You really need to grow out of this. I never did. I just stopped putting myself in situations where people could see me panic. Till now. Mark is 3 years older than me. The golden child. Athletic, loud, always the star of every backyard barbecue. He had the kind of energy that filled a room, and never once questioned whether it should. I, on the other hand, was allergic to half the backyard. Cats, pollen, grass. Loud noises gave me headaches. Heights made me dizzy. My knees hurt after too much walking, and I once fainted during a hike from heat exhaustion. My mom gave me half a bottle of water and told me to toughen up. Everything I did was seen as a ploy for attention. A scheme. A performance. No matter what I said or how calmly I said it, I was always being too sensitive. If I cried, it was fake. If I got scared, it was embarrassing. If I asked to stay behind, I was being selfish. They called me a drama queen before I even hit double digits. Mark, meanwhile, could sprain a pinky and be carried home like a war hero. The rules were different for him. Still are. I didn't talk much growing up. I didn't see the point. I just watched. I learned the patterns. I stopped reacting. And then I got out. Studied law. Became a criminal investigator. People were surprised. Isn't that kind of intense for someone like you? Meaning, aren't you too delicate? Too reactive? Well, I'm not delicate. I just know what it feels like to be disbelieved. I built a career around evidence. Around logic. Around truth that doesn't require permission to exist. I thought maybe, that would be enough for my parents to start seeing me differently. As capable, strong, someone they could respect. It wasn't. Even now, they still treat me like I'm seconds away from melting down in the canned goods aisle. And then Sophie was born. She was perfect. Small and quiet and thoughtful, with this little furrow in her brow like she'd already figured out the world was a mess and was trying to fix it with kindness. She was like me. From day one I swore I'd protect her. And I did. When my dad joked, "Here comes Drama Queen 2.0, I shut it down. When Mark's daughter Haley got praised for being feisty, and Sophie got told she was too emotional, I said no. Not on my watch. At least not while I was in the room. But that's the thing about kids. They notice the silences more than the noise. They feel what isn't said. And they internalize it just like I did. So when Sophie asked to go on this trip, with my parents Mark, Haley, and Ben, I hesitated. I couldn't go. Not because I didn't want to. Because I can't fly. Flying makes me sick. Not just physically, psychologically. I've tried therapy, exposure, even prescription medication. I can't do it. And Sophie knows that. It's just one of those quiet facts in our house. Mom doesn't fly. She begged. She really wanted to go. She said it would be good to bond with her cousins. That she'd call every night. And my mom? She said, don't worry. We'll take care of her. Mark said, we'll keep an eye on her. Haley's excited. Then they asked if I could pitch in for Haley and Ben's extra tickets, since they'd be helping out with Sophie. It was framed like a favor. Like I should be grateful. I sent the money. I packed Sophie's bag myself. I included her allergy meds, backup phone charger, Band-Aids, snacks. I kissed her goodbye in the driveway and waved with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. I had a feeling. I ignored it. Because part of me wanted to believe they'd changed. That they'd grown. That they'd see Sophie for who she really is, not as a mirror of the daughter they never understood. The plane jerked slightly. The woman next to me snored through it. I gripped the armrest harder. I couldn't stop thinking about Sophie on that hotel bed, trying not to cry, telling me her leg just really hurts now. Telling me she fell yesterday. That they made her walk for 3 more hours. That they said she was fine. That she didn't want to ruin the trip. That line gutted me. I didn't want to ruin the trip. She learned that from me. Not because I taught it, but because I lived it. Because I spent my whole childhood pretending I was okay just to make things easier for people who didn't care either way. I broke the cycle in every way I could, except the one that mattered most. I let her go with them. I trusted them to care. They didn't. The seatbelt light dinged. The descent began. My stomach dropped. I leaned back and tried to breathe. Not deep, not steady, just enough. They think I'm overreacting. That I'm going to show up and make a scene. They're wrong. I'm not making a scene. I'm drawing a line. I didn't fly for a decade. Not because I couldn't handle the sky. I just couldn't stomach what it brought out in them. But for Sophie? I'll land in hell if I have to. By the time I got to the hotel, I'd started to forget how to breathe. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a pathetic scene, maybe even some asking for forgiveness from my parents. What I didn't expect was Sophie answering the door herself. She was pale, still in pajamas, hair knotted on one side like she hadn't brushed it in a day. But she was standing. Kind of. Leaning against the doorframe like it was doing half the work. You actually came, she said softly. That broke me. Not thank you, not help me, not finally. Just surprise. Like she didn't believe it until now. Like I make promises I don't keep. I wrapped my arms around her carefully and said, of course I did. You're the only thing on this planet that could get me on a plane. Don't make me do it again. She laughed a little, then winced and pulled away. Okay, I said, time to get that leg looked at before it starts glowing or talking to us. Took us 15 minutes to get her shoes on. Half of that was arguing about whether she needed both. She did not. One stayed off. Her foot looked like it had swallowed a baseball. While I was tying the laces, I asked without thinking, so, how'd it happen exactly? Stairs, right? I expected a sheepish, I tripped, or something about slippery shoes. Instead she went quiet. It wasn't really a fall, she said. Ben pushed me. As a joke. I looked up slowly. He didn't mean to. I was taking a picture and he shoved me like he does all the time, but I missed a step. And then I was on the ground. They saw it. All of them. My heart sank. They saw it. She nodded. Grandma said I was being dramatic. Mark told me to stop crying because I was scaring the tourists. Grandpa asked if I'd twisted it before the trip. And you didn't tell me that on the call because? She hesitated. Because I thought it'd go away. And because I didn't want to make a thing out of it. I didn't want to get Ben in trouble. I stood up. Sophie. Someone pushes you down a flight of stairs and your leg swells like that. You don't protect them. Not even if they're family. Especially if they're family. She looked away. And when the hospital staff asked what happened, I said, holding her gaze, you tell the truth. The whole thing. No edits. She nodded quietly. Okay. We made it to the ER. They took us back fairly quickly. Possibly because I told them I thought her leg might be broken and also possibly because I might have glared at a clipboard like it owed me rent. The nurse asked the usual. Pain level, symptoms, allergies. Then came the question. How did it happen? Sophie glanced at me once, then straightened. My cousin pushed me. As a joke. I fell down some stairs. She said it like a fact. Not a sob story. Not a plea. Just a fact. The nurse's face didn't move, but her pen started scribbling faster. The X-ray came back 20 minutes later. Tibia fracture. Non-displaced but definitely broken. You're lucky it didn't shift, the doctor said. If she'd walked much more on this. He didn't finish the sentence. I finished it for him silently, with a list of what-ifs and worst cases and a quiet rage building under my skin like a second pulse. After the doctor left, I turned to Sophie. Tell me everything, I said. The full timeline. He started talking. She said that after the fall she begged to go to the hospital. They said there was no time, it was a walking tour day and tickets were non-refundable. They said she could use some ice at the end of the day. They made her walk. For 3 hours. With that leg. She said that when she asked again the next morning, they told her if she was really in pain, she could rest in the hotel. But they had a winery tour booked and someone had to watch the kids. Then they left. All of them. Even Ben. Even my parents. Did they say anything else? I asked. She hesitated. They told me I was acting like you. I blinked. Like me. Like you used to be. Drama queen. Afraid of everything. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. That's when I knew. This wasn't just neglect. This was history repeating itself. And this time they were trying to erase her voice the way they tried to erase mine. Except I didn't let them. And she wasn't going to let them either. I stepped into the hallway and dialed my parents. My dad answered. Is she okay? He asked. Not because he cared but because he knew I'd find out everything. She has a fracture, I said. A doctor confirmed it. Pause. Well, it didn't look that bad at the time. Ben pushed her. Another pause. That's not really fair. He was just playing around. You all saw it happen. She tripped. No. You saw him push her and you walked away. He didn't respond. I'm pressing charges, I said. That got a reaction. Erica, come on. You're going to drag the whole family into court over this. Yes. For a little accident? You're being irrational. No. I'm being a mother. I hung up. Back in the room, Sophie looked at me. Was that Grandpa? Yep. What did he say? I smiled. He said I was being irrational. She blinked. You. Right. That made her laugh again. Still shaky, still pale but real. And that's when I pulled out my phone, opened my notes app and typed. Request legal consultation. Medical neglect. Possible child endangerment. Because this wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about setting the record straight. About making sure my daughter knew, deep in her bones, that no one got to hurt her without consequences. Not even family. Especially not family. I didn't sleep much the night after Sophie's X-ray. Not because of adrenaline or rage or even relief that she was finally safe, but because my brain wouldn't stop building timelines. Flights. Court filings. Travel logistics. And a tiny voice in my head whispering, do you really want to take your own parents to court? Yes. Yes, I did. Not because I wanted revenge. Not even because of what they did to me. This wasn't about the drama queen label or the childhood hiking trips. This was about Sophie. And the way her voice cracked when she said she didn't want to start drama. As if being pushed down a staircase and forced to walk on a broken leg was somehow impolite to mention. No, we were done letting things slide. The footage came through 3 days later. Tourist stairs. Midday sunlight. My daughter standing with a camera. Smiling. Ben, 12 years old, charges up behind her, playfully shoves her elbow. She flails. Slips. Crashes forward out of frame. Then the part that made my stomach turn. A cluster of adults. Mark, mom, dad, standing in the background watching it happen. No one runs. No one drops a bag. They all just stand there. Like it wasn't real. Like she wasn't real. I forwarded the video to my lawyer. She didn't respond with words, just a thumbs up and we've got them. Filing the case meant going back. It meant court appearances. Paperwork. Interviews. And yes, flying. Multiple times. The first return flight I barely remember booking. I just remember Sophie looking at me across the kitchen and saying, "You're flying again?" I nodded. Looks like it. Willingly. Well, not willingly. But I'm not frozen anymore either. Turns out once you do the thing you swore you couldn't, and survive, it rewires something. She blinked. So, like therapy? More like revenge exposure therapy. Apparently, maternal rage is stronger than fear of crashing. When we got home, the screaming started. First Mark. In person. You're really doing this? He barked, showing up on my porch with that old smugness like he still ran the family. I didn't flinch. Yes. You're gonna destroy us. You know that, right? Should have thought of that before you left a child with a broken leg in a hotel room. Next came my parents. They came together. Always a sign they were plotting. Mom tried the guilt route. We're your parents, Erica. You can't take us to court. What will people say? Dad tried the strategy. Drop it now and we can all move on. I looked them both in the eye. You made her walk 3 hours on a broken leg. You watched her fall. You laughed at her pain. I'm not dropping anything. They left in a huff. But they weren't done. The phone calls started next. Aunt Janine. Cousin Rachel. Even Uncle Marty, who hadn't called me since 2006. Your mom's a wreck. Mark could lose his job. Can't you just let it go? Don't do this to the family. So I told them what happened. Each one. The footage. The x-rays. The quote-unquote drama. By the fourth call, the tide began to turn. I had no idea. Wait, she was really hurt? They left her alone? Eventually the calls stopped. The courtroom wasn't dramatic. No slammed gavels. No gasps. Just a tired judge and a handful of lawyers exchanging paperwork and dates. But the ruling was clear. Child endangerment. Medical neglect. Failure to report injury. All three, my parents and Mark, got official entries on record. No jail, but the fines were steep. The kind that make your eyes water. And then came the part Mark didn't see coming. He lost his job. Apparently, schools don't like having PE teachers with a child endangerment conviction. They had to move 6 weeks later. Smaller place. Bad part of town. Mom called it temporary, but I heard from a cousin that they were begging for rent help within a month. They didn't ask me. They knew better. I'd stopped the transfers. Closed the side account. No more birthday handouts, no more help us with groceries this month. They were on their own. And I was done. Sophie got quieter after it all ended. Not withdrawn, just more certain of herself. Like she no longer needed to explain why she felt what she felt. One night while folding laundry, she said, I think I would have just let it go. I know. But I'm glad you didn't. I nodded. You shouldn't have to scream to be taken seriously. Later, right before bed, she showed me a message. From Ben. Hey. I know this is late, but I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have pushed you even as a joke. I was trying to be funny. It was stupid. I feel awful. I hope your leg's healing okay. She didn't cry. Didn't respond. Just looked at the screen for a long time. You believe him? I asked. He shrugged. Yeah. Think so. I don't think anyone made him send that. And I believed her. Her leg's fine now, fully healed. No damage, no lasting injury. Just a memory and a quiet line she'll never let anyone cross again. I don't talk to my family anymore. I didn't block them. I didn't post anything. I just stopped replying. Stopped waiting for apologies. Stopped hoping they'd change. No drama. Just silence. And for the first time in my life, that silence felt like peace. I still hate flying. But I've done it. Multiple times. For the case. For work. For a short trip with Sophie to celebrate. Every time my palms sweat. My stomach flips. But I go. And every time I land, I remember what Sophie said the first time I came to get her. You really came. And I always will. So what do you think? Did I go too far, or just far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.